It's been 3 long years for Cleopatra and her father, Ptolemy XII. They have not seen the glory of Alexandria, the welcoming warm beams of the lighthouse, the libraries of knowledge, since their forced exile by Berenice IV. Yet Ptolemy XII continues to create ripples until Rome finally grants him his army. I am your host, Mr. Phan, and today Ptolemy and Cleopatra finally returns home. Now, obviously, there were many obstacles against Ptolemy. Several Roman senators did not want to help an ally of the first triumvirate, for they were already painfully aware that their influence and power was waning day by day. So they did what your typical bureaucrat does: delay the vote and action for as long as possible. Now, meanwhile, across the Mediterranean Sea, Berenice IV was consolidating her power. You see, her co regent, Cleopatra VI, possibly the Cleopatra's mother, passed away, leaving Berenice as the sole ruler of Egypt. And as she consolidated her power, she started hearing these crazy rumors that her father was very active in Rome and that he was trying to get an army to come back home. Obviously, she wasn't too happy with this, so she did two things. She started sending more tribute to Rome, and she tried to start sending more envoys, emissaries to Rome to try to plead her case that her father was not fit to be king. Now, Ptolemy was a king with no kingdom, a royal member of the family with no money. So the odds were definitely stacked against him. However, that did not mean that he did not have any supporters, he did not have any friends. See, one of these friends came in the form of his debtors. The problem with having a loan is you kind of need money to pay it back. And a debt ridden king who had no kingdom, no way to tax a population, had no ways of paying back said debt. So, by default, prominent loaners and bankers like Gaius Rabirius Postumus started making noise against the delaying actions of the Senate. Now, let's look at things from a logical standpoint. Ptolemy was hedonistic, self indulgent, incompetent. I mean, his name is literally Ptolemy XII Auletes. Auletes meaning flauntus, meaning flute player. This king preferred to play the flute more than he preferred to do what kings should do: administrate a kingdom. Now, sprinkle in a lot of debt, and you have the perfect amount of leverage to create the perfect puppet for Rome. Berenice, on the other hand, she was a strong, independent queen who even helped one of her husbands, how do I put this, exit his mortal coil. Now, obviously, it certainly helped Ptolemy's cases that none of Berenice's emissaries, her envoys, ever reached Rome. Most of them were disappeared before they had the opportunity to plead her case in the steps of the Roman Senate. Finally, Ptolemy had a great friend, the influential Pompey the Great, to petition on his behalf. And in 57 BC, Rome finally agreed to give him his army. But it's never that easy, is it? You see, the Romans had a holy text known as the Sibylline books. which was a collection of Greek prophecies, one of which stated, and I'm paraphrasing here, if an Egyptian king asks for help and Rome decides to intervene militarily, an era of strife and difficulty will follow. Well, there goes that army, there goes that vote. And I guess it was time to give up. So Ptolemy and Cleopatra, they decided, you know what? We got a good thing going here. They technically can't tax us since we're not in Egypt anymore. So let's just live out the rest of our days in exile in the beautiful city of Rome. Nah, I'm playing with you. Ptolemy and Cleopatra decided to leave the city of Rome and went south to Syria to plead their case to the local governor and good friend of Pompey, General Aulus Gabinius. Now, after a massive gift from Pompey, General Gabinius decided to invade Egypt in 55 BC. Now, it's time for a fan fact. So, Gabinius had a rising cavalry officer in his rank named Marcus Antonius, or Mark Antony in English. Mark Antony. And he was there when Egypt was invaded. In the war camps, he first laid eyes on the beautiful, intelligent Cleopatra. Granted, at the time she was 15, but that's, yeah. Now, obviously, it would be many years, about a decade and a half, before Mark Antony would finally get the opportunity with the future queen. But this is technically where his attraction to her began. Now, within the year, Egypt was back under Ptolemy's rule, and Cleopatra was finally home at last in beautiful Alexandria. Berenice and all her supporters were executed. To maintain his power, 2,000 Roman mercenaries and 500 Roman cavalrymen were left under Ptolemy's authority. Henceforth, they're known as the Gabiniani. Gabiniani. Now, with his recent experiences, Ptolemy knew better this time than to anger the subjugated Egyptian population. At least, don't have the people's anger directed at him. So, in a Machiavellian move, Ptolemy appointed Rabirius, that banker from earlier, as Egypt's minister of finance, knowing that the banker was only interested in getting the money he was owed, not the Egyptians' best interests. So, in less than a year, heavy taxes led to an angry population threatening to Rabirius. So, for his safety, and probably to promote himself, Ptolemy stepped in and locked up the foul Rabirius, and conveniently allowed him to escape back to Rome. Now, finally, Ptolemy passed away in 51 BC, making a 19-year-old Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, rulers of a broken, debt infected, subjugated Egypt. But this series isn't about Ptolemy XII. So, why am I talking so much about this man? Simple. The sins of the parents do affect their children. You see, in just 19 years, Cleopatra had the opportunity to learn philosophy and oratory, building her charisma and her ability to become a good public speaker. But from her exile, due to her father's incompetence, she learned and developed a drive to fight for what she wanted, fight for what was hers. From her father, she learned how to be better than him, to actually be a good statesperson, a good administrator, as a ruler of a country should be. She also learned how to be devious, be manipulative. Don't forget, Being just because she's a woman does not mean she does not have the mentality and the mindset of what it takes to be a ruler of a nation. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be alerted when the next video is dropped. If you missed part 1, click on this video here to watch and catch up. If you want to hear about the unnecessary controversy of the Greek Cleopatra, watch this video instead. Have a wonderful day.